probably what, Rob, one of the best weekends of football so far, weekday 6. Let's start at the game that was played today, St James's Park, Newcastle versus Arsenal, a Newcastle team that haven't quite got it all figured out. The Isaac thing, I think, was a bit of a cloud over them. Anthony Gordon being suspended, getting Voltermoda in the team. Wies's signed for the football club not being available. So these issues around Newcastle, probably why we haven't seen the very best of them this season. And then an Arsenal team, Rob, who Mikel Arteta came in for some criticism really this week. Has had to ride that. People talking about playing with the handbrake on and, has he got enough devil? Does he really go for things? So there was a real narrative going into the game. And obviously St James's Park is a place where Arsenal haven't done particularly well of late. Remember the fallout in the touchline a couple of seasons ago when Arsenal didn't get Newcastle scored goals at Arsenal. Yeah. So, bit of history, bit of needle. And the game lived up to all expectations, I thought.
Yeah, it's a brilliant game, Rob, wasn't it? I mean, brilliant game. I mean, Newcastle United at home are just formidable. They, the big boys. I know Liverpool went there early in the season, didn't they, Rob? And look back at some of the results from last year. 3-2, late goal. But even last year, I mean, not many of the top sides get a result there at all. So it's a very, very, they love it. The Geordies love the big boys coming to town. And it was a physical Newcastle, Rob. Yeah. We know, we've talked about Newcastle and Eddie Howe's 2 modes. And there's a drop-off, sit-back mode, counter-attack mode, and there's a high-energy, high-press physical mode. Well, it was the latter. And I think the Geordies love that. I think he always does that at home when he can, particularly against some of the good footballing sides. They were powerful. They were strong. And Nick Voltermoda, again, gets his goal, Rob, his header, to put Newcastle up 1-0. Nick Pope had to make a ton of saves in the first half. Yeah. I mean, Arsenal went with Abercha as an 8 or a 10, kind of float between the two positions. I think he makes a difference. He just gives them a little bit of quick feet, a little bit of forward thinking. Yeah. And the manager took a little bit of a stick from not playing him in the last game. But it was I thought it was a very impressive Arsenal performance, Rob, from the beginning to the end. And I know when you sit at half time when you're 1-0 down, it's like, wow. Like I thought Nick Pope made some phenomenal saves to keep Arsenal out. Yeah. Arsenal kept going. And the quality, the subs, the changes, the different people they can bring in now. I thought they deserved the win. I know it's late. I know it's a set piece. And people might say, well, they rely on set pieces. I mean, what a strength to have, Rob. We talked about this last year. I mean, why not be good at something that's a really important part of it? They're very good at it. And it, just on that quickly on that goal, Rob, not just the header, but the blocking of the goalkeeper. Yeah. When you saw it from the angle behind, Saliba on the goalie, it's like, this is all choreographed so perfectly. The ball, the arrival of Gabriel and Saliba in front of the goal, it was just perfectly executed set piece. And I just thought it was deserved. Arsenal were a really good team today, Rob.
It was. I mean, I must admit, Rob, we got to half time and I've talked to you about a couple of the incidents that happened in the first half, but we got to half time, and I think I said to Bex or something, this is a tester now. Mikel Arteta's got to get his boys back focused. I felt as though there was a frustration running through Arsenal and a little bit of emotional control, and it looked to me like I thought they might get caught up in the physicality and the atmosphere and not quite be able to get their football. But in fairness to them, they continued to pin Newcastle back. They continued to create chances. There's 80-odd minutes on the clock, and then Marino comes on and gets an important goal. And as you say, they go to set-piece mode, and that's good enough to win the game. I want to pick out one play, I think, before I go to the incidents, the penalty incident in the first half, particularly because that's divided opinion and still seems to have. I just have to circle out Declan Rice today, my friend. Yeah. Declan Rice was unbelievable. Mate, he was running and chasing people. He did one run. He was nearly on the penalty box attacking. He ran the full length of the pitch to get a block in. You could see his chest pumping and thing. And then also went on the attack and he put his head down and he sprinted forward again. The drive and energy in this guy is infectious, is really important to Arsenal, and goes a little bit under the radar, I think, at times. People keep telling you what Declan Rice doesn't do, or this, or not enough goals, or not enough that. I thought when his team needed him, in the second half particularly, I thought he was unbelievable, mate.
Well, that's where I love Declan Rice in that situation, Rob, where you want to trust a midfield player to track a run or to help out the central defenders or to block or clear things away. That's personally, I think, his best attributes as a footballer is that is a guarding midfield player to defend, to help, to more than a number 8.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the balance of the 3 today was a little different because Abacha Eze was in there, and that changes the blend of a 3 midfield players, makes them very different. Marino come on and get his goal, to be fair. But I like Rice when he's got as big a responsibility going back as he has going forward, because I think there's better players. Odegaard came into the game as well as 8s than he is. I mean, Arteta will continue to play with this and to mix it around a little bit. But you're right to pick him out, because there's a couple of times late when, you know, he's the one who's chasing people back all the way back to the byline. You're like, wow, is his hamstrings going to pop here because he's sprinting so much? But that's a good pick out. No, he was excellent. I just thought Arsenal in the whole, Rob, were really some of the football, even from in the first half, they popping the ball around one touch. Eze with his little feet in there, and the only thing I made a note of in the first half, Rob, just as Arsenal was struggling to get behind Newcastle, was Trossard was very narrow on the left, and you know Calafiori's role is very different. I heard Arteta explaining it, Rob. It was fascinating in a press conference where he sort of explained how Calafiori played. And he basically said it's depending on so many things. And he rattled off, Rob, the way that the opponent's number 9 is pressing, the way that the opponent's wide player, is he staying wide, is he tucking in, is how Calafiori plays, which then affects how the wide left player plays. You know, as you'd expect these level of coaches and this level of football, there's stuff that goes into why they play people in certain positions that, quite honestly, is over our heads. It's really bright and really smart. And there's obviously a reason why Calafiori didn't really tuck into the middle of the park. He stayed wider. Trossard came inside in field to play, you know, kind of alongside Eze as
played
two
as a 10 at times. We had a little thing, and it was like Eze and him with the 2 10s either side of the midfield. Which
and
was
then you got
really
that box.
Yeah, and he got that little box where they could play.
With Rice and Zubimendi as the 2 bottom pieces of that box.
At the top end. So, it was interesting. Let's go to the big talking point in the first half, mate. It was the penalty incident when Gyökeres goes through. I think Murphy rolls the ball back that's short. Gyökeres reads it, gets there, touches it past Nick Pope. It would seem, on the first impression, the referee's seen the challenge then has come in. There's a contact between the goalkeeper and the striker. He points to the penalty spot. Penalty was given. VAR intervened, and it was deemed that VAR said that the ball, the goalkeeper got a touch on the ball, and because of that, it goes down in inverted commas like a save. And so the contact after was not necessary. I thought that was a poor and wrong decision for me. I get that Nick Pope touched the ball, but Gyökeres is at speed. He bashes him into him. Gyökeres goes to ground. If Gyökeres can stay on his feet, he probably can run towards the ball and shoot towards the goal without the challenge. I didn't see it as a clear and obvious error, which is the benchmark that we're supposed to go by. It almost felt like it was re-refereed. And that's where I had a point. Tim went the other way, and maybe not just the goalkeepers union, but he felt that the touch was enough to say whatever happens after is like just a collision of the two bodies coming together. It's one of those, Rob. It depends which side of the argument you want to be on. For me, and it's not just because I was more of an attacking player, I thought it was a foul and I thought it was a penalty kick.
Well, I think it's a great argument from both sides. And I think the first thing to say about Tim's analysis, that Tim is about as honest as it comes with goalkeepers. There's as many times, in fact, more than I would say, that he thinks goalkeepers should be stronger in many situations. So he is in no means kind of off on the side of goalkeepers. I tell you, when you first saw it, Rob, right, I think we all thought, Gyökeres kind of gets the ball, he's tripped him over. It's a foul. Right? So it looked like a foul. Now, you know, VAR is there, we know, for shockers, for horrific decisions, for no-brainers, like, wow, that's terrible. That's what it's there for. This was a re-refereeing situation. And when we zoomed in on the super slow motion, these amazing cameras that we can now get the benefit of in watching sport, there's a little touch on the ball. But, you know, he still comes through and clips the player. So if I was re-refereeing it, I kind of get the argument from both sides, and we can sit here all day and argue that. But I would go back to what VAR is again. And is it a clear and obvious error? The fact that you and Tim Howard have watched 1,000 incidents, had a different side to it. For me, it smacks of, that's not a clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
I think it was a foul. You can get a little piece of the ball, just like happens on the field, didn't it, Rob? You can get a bit of the ball, but you can still foul the player. And it wasn't a big touch. It was a small touch on the ball from the goalkeeper. And it was in distance. It felt like Gyökeres to get it.
Correct.
And he couldn't get it because he got tripped by the goalie. So I would tend to think I would go on your side of it. But I'll be honest with you, it's a strong argument from both sides. Though sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. I just think VAR, come on, it's a clear and obvious error that everybody can see. But it wasn't one of those for me. But anyway, I mean, it didn't.
In the end, it didn't change the game. I mean, if Arsenal had got the goal and gone 1-0 up, it certainly would be different. In some ways, Rob, and I'm sure Arsenal fans won't enjoy me saying this, and Mikel Arteta won't enjoy me saying this, but the way how they won it didn't half give you, Beck said, didn't half give you a lift, didn't half give you a bit of belief in what you're doing. I know it's late, and I know you want to win games easier and better, but to be 1-0 down away at Newcastle, as you said, it was one of the most difficult places to go with that fan base and that team, and end up winning 2-1. It kind of was a perfect situation for Arsenal, and they just should take so much from it. I said to Bex, I got to half time and I couldn't quite see them getting the 2 goals. And I said, it's not important that I believe, that they believe it is the thing. And
they
I sense they do. I sense
did.
they do. I sense they feel this depth of squad, this group they've got, this ability to change players, gives them a chance to do that. And this was massive today, because if they had lost or drawn or lost, mate, the narrative would have been out, and it'd be everywhere again, all over the papers, all over the TV, about Mikel Arteta being too cautious.
Just there was another handball shout, wasn't there, Rob?
There was Gabriel late on with Elanga. He made a good challenge.
I thought they made a good call.
Yeah.
The arm looks separated, but remember, the general direction is it a justifiable position?
Yeah.
Could you justify his arm being there in that particular moment in the game? And I think the officials got it right there.
The ball actually came off his shin as well, so it deflected onto the arm, which again is another factor in saying. So I think I think the big calls, in that situation was right, but.
Just just Robert, let me just summarize a little bit you just did there. The only thing that wasn't great for Arsenal was the goal they conceded. From Mosquera to shank the ball out, and from Gabriel to go down way too easily. Arsenal were very hard to score against. If they and you get a goal against them, it's going to be.
You earn it.
It's really, you have to really earn it, and that's why I still will back Arsenal to be favourites for this Premier League title. Their goal difference is the best in the league right now. They're just 2 points behind Liverpool. We'll get on to Liverpool's game. But just with the variations in midfield and attack, as well as a tremendously strong defensive line, I just think they showed it today. Well, that's not easy to go there and boss that game as much as they did against that team that were high pressing with a high energy. I thought it was impressive today from Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the reason I think Liverpool will do it and not Arsenal is because days like today, I probably would have thought they'd end up with a point.
Right.
And they've ended up with 3, which is a step in the right direction for them, and might be the reason why they go closer than I think. So today was a big day, I think, for the team and for the manager and the fan base. And, they come out with the big 3 points, which is huge for them.
Yeah, and to be fair, Rob, just before we move on,
the
only thing I'd say with these celebrations, right, we've seen all this before, haven't we, from Arsenal? We've seen big wins before.
Big stuff.
Jumping around, celebration. Yeah. It's a long, long way to go. I'm sure they've learned from previous seasons where, they sort of feel like this is a huge moment. It was a big win. It felt a big win, and it must help their confidence. But they've had these before, and they failed to get over the line. So, they got to keep themselves.
We're 6 games in, my friend.
Exactly.
6 games in.
Nothing definitive. Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.